All right, so this lesson is going to focus on distance, speed, and time word problems, and we're going to try to understand the relationship between distance, speed, and time in a real-life situation. So we'll just jump right into an example, and throughout the examples, you should be thinking about what types of shortcuts or equations you could use to solve these problems faster, because I'm not going to solve them the fast way. Okay, so you travel at a speed of 40 miles per hour for 5 hours. So the first thing we need to make sure we understand, so if I say 40 miles per hour, the key concept of that vocabulary is that means each hour you travel 40 miles. So maybe this problem seems really easy to you if I have 5 hours that I'm traveling. So 1 hour, 2, 3. Oops, let me make those a bit smaller so that, okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and each of those hours, I'm told my speed is 40 miles per hour. So each of these hours I'll go 40 miles. So maybe you could easily see the trick to finding this answer would just be to do 40 times 5, right? So if I do, and we're going to keep really good track of our units on these problems. So let's think about it with units. If I do 40 miles per hour times 5 hours, my answer will be 200 miles. So for all the word problems we're going to work on in this unit, keep track of your units as you go so that you can understand what units your final answer should be in. So it's asking us the distance I travel. So my final answer should be 200 miles. That will be my distance. Okay, we're going to do a couple more examples, and each one will be solved differently, but I want you to think of shortcuts as we go through them. Okay, example 2. You drive to LA, which is 400 miles away, and it takes you 8 hours. What was your average speed? So they're giving me something different now. They're telling me my total distance. So I went 400 miles. And they're telling me that it took me 8 hours. So let me just chop this. So 1, 2, 3. So there's 8 hours. So if it took me 8 hours to go 400 miles, how will I figure out what speed I traveled at during that time? So in this case, it would be a division problem, right? I would do 400 miles divided by 8 hours. And that will tell me that my average speed is 50 miles per hour. And this is a good time to know, you can write out your units with words. You can write miles per 50 mph, but that's actually the same as division. This is what it's saying, 50 miles per 1 hour. So my average speed must have been 50 miles for each hour, because 50 miles times, 50 miles per hour times 8 hours gets me 400 miles. You can look at the units and see that the hours kind of cancel out because I'm dividing by miles when I have my speed and I'm multiplying by hours. Okay, let's do another example. Try to pause the video actually and just see if you can solve this one and think about what shortcut you'd be using here. What are they telling us and what do we need to find out? So you plan to drive to Merced, which you're going 120 miles away, and you're traveling 30 miles per hour. So how long will it take? So I'm looking for an answer of how many hours it will take me. Okay, so it's 120 miles away. That's my total distance. And I'm going in chunks of 30. So basically it's like I want to know how many chunks of 30 will it take me to get to 120. And I can see that if I go 30 miles 4 times, that gets me 120 miles. So it will take me 4 hours. Because if I do, so this is a division problem too, right? So 120 miles divided by 30 miles per hour tells me that I need 4 hours to travel there. Sorry about my bad handwriting. Okay, so those are the key kinds of relationships. For these word problems, I want to really make sure that you guys include units on each of your answers and think about whether you're needing to multiply or divide in order to get the information that they're asking you. So the units that we're going to use, there's many different sets of units, but we'll focus on two. So we just did a bunch of examples where our unit, this will just be the units that we're going to use. So our unit for distance is miles, and our time is hours. And in that case, our speed is miles per hour. But you can also get in the habit of writing it as a fraction, miles per hour. Another common one, we might do some problems like this. Your distance is measured in feet, and our time is measured in seconds. And in this case, our speed would be feet per second. So this little bar is read as per. Oops, let me make my handwriting better because this is going to be too confusing in your notes. Okay, that little bar is the per in the speed. Okay, so pay attention to units as you're solving these problems and think about which kind of units will make sense. That being said, in order to solve a lot of these problems, you need to make sure that your units are correct before you start. So a lot of the times we might be doing problems involving speed in miles per hour, but they're giving us some time that's in minutes. So we need to turn all of our minutes into hours. And you'll get some intuition about this, but I like to do it with a tape diagram, I like to do it with a fraction. So 20 minutes, the key thing obviously to remember is that 60 minutes is 1 hour. And so if I want to turn my minutes into hours, I'm just going to make them all a fraction out of 60, and then I can reduce that down to make it a fraction that's easier to work with. So 20 minutes out of 60, I can divide those both by 20. And so 20 minutes is 1/3 of an hour. Sorry, let me do my better handwriting for you guys. Sorry. 1/3 of an hour. Okay, so what about 90 minutes? How would we turn that into a fraction of hours? So 90 out of 60. You don't have to divide them by the biggest number to start, but I just know those both divide by 30. So it's 3/2 of an hour. Or it's 1 1/2 hours. So we're going to practice a bunch of this so that you get better intuition about it. Why don't you pause the video and try the last two. See if you can turn them both into a fraction of an hour. All right, so 45 minutes. So let's say you don't know a good number to divide them by. Just start with a small number. So let's say I can divide them both by 5, and that's going to be 9/12, and then I'll divide them both by 3, and then I will get 3/4. So you might have divided by 15 to begin with, or you might have just known it. But as long as you divide them both by the same number till you can't do it anymore, then you'll find your final answer. So 45 minutes is 3/4 of an hour. And 100 minutes. Let's see, what did you guys get for 100 minutes? So 100 out of 60, those can both divide by 20. So it's 5/3 of an hour. Or 1 2/3 hours. So as you're reading the next set of word problems, make sure you're paying attention to what our units are and how to turn them all into hours, because I can't mix my units when I'm solving these word problems. Okay, so let's try example 4. You drive at a speed of 60 miles per hour for 3 hours and 45 minutes. So we just did 45 minutes. We found out that 45 minutes, if I divide them both by 15, is 3/4 of an hour. So this is 3 3/4 hours. So there's many ways to solve this problem. I'm going to do it one way, but you guys can definitely be thinking about your own ways. So first I'll just do 60 miles per hour for 3 hours. So 60 miles per hour times 3 hours. So in that amount of time, I'm going to go 180 miles. So now I just need to deal with my 3/4 of an hour. So how far will I go in 3/4 of an hour? So let me think of it as a tape diagram. So this is 1 hour. I know in my total hour, it goes 60 miles. So let's break it into fourths. So that means each 1/4 of an hour is 15 miles. And so 3/4 is going to be 15 times 3. So it's 45 miles. So I'll put those two together. And so my answer to this problem is 225 miles. You might have had your own way to do that, which is great, but I want you to have multiple ways to understand these word problems and to really know what each part of the problem is meaning. Okay, I think we'll just do 2 more examples. Here's example 5. You have 40 minutes to run 6 miles. What speed will you need to run in miles per hour? So you should notice, right? I have minutes and hours, which I cannot deal with that. I need to turn it all into hours to be able to solve the problem. So let's take 40 minutes and figure out what fraction of an hour it is. So 40 minutes is 40 out of 60, which if I break that down both by 20, it's 2/3 of an hour. Okay, so what is this telling me? This is telling me that I need to run in 2/3 of an hour. So let me make a tape diagram. So in these 2/3 of an hour, I have to run 6 miles. And then my question is, what's my speed per hour? So I'll do that if I need to do 6 miles in 2/3 of an hour, then that means I need to do 3 miles. And so in the whole hour, I'm going to have to run 9 miles. So my speed would need to be 9 miles per hour in order to achieve that goal. Okay, we'll just do one last one because these are getting a little trickier. And then you guys will have more chances to practice or think of better strategies. I'm showing you one way to do it, but I really want you guys to think of your own strategies. Okay, so I can ride my bike 18 miles in 1 hour and 20 minutes, and I want to find my speed this time. Okay, so let's turn 20 minutes into a fraction of an hour. So I'll divide those both by 20, and I get 1/3 of an hour. So what is this telling me? So in 1 full hour and 1/3 of an hour, I can go 18 miles. So I'm just going to chop it all into thirds to see how much I'm going in each section of an hour. So in one whole hour and 1/3, I can go 18 miles. So these all together give me a distance of 18 miles. So I'm just going to find out what each section is. So I'm going to do 18 divided by 4. And I'm going to see that in each 20 minutes, in each third of an hour, I can go 4.5 miles. And that makes it easy to see, in 1 hour, I can go 13.5 miles. So my speed is 13.5 miles in 1 hour. We're going to practice with a bunch of different strategies and find shortcuts. But I really like tape diagrams as a way to think about it. So try that strategy for today.